Right? We are going live.
Going
When it
live.
actually is live is another question, but we'll be live soon, if not
Fixing
now.
to make a plan.
Should
You
be
remember?
seeing. Go ahead.
You remember last night I was complaining that my space bar was just going crazy?
Yes.
When I came upstairs, I had my keyboard on my desk and I had something sitting on it, or on the bed, and I had something sitting on it. I think it might have been affected. Oh,
What
Al reminds us it's time for roll call
was it?
first.
Was it a cat?
No, it was like a book or something.
Good job, Al. Good timing. Good
We got to
gift.
stay on schedule. We got Brett. Kevin is here. Yay. Bruce, Mike, Jill, Mr. Ed, who will be the star of the show tonight, John, Rick C. We've got Sandy and Michael Westbay and Al. And do we have anybody? We got any Rose? Not yet. Maybe PDX Kurt.
Well, Rose is in the sidebar. She could
Is she?
be. Yeah.
I do not see her in the sidebar.
Really? Well, look
Nope.
at. Oh, you know what I should do is let's do this.
Nope,
Oops,
I don't see her.
That's no good. Let's try this.
So, oh, no, Rose just snuck into the live show. She's here for real.
Hello,
Hi,
Rose.
everybody. I've been saying before we got started that I'm not going to be talking very much because doesn't my voice sound great? I would love to blame the little petri dishes, Forbes and Sienna, but I think I had the cold before I even got together with them. So, and now Steve has a cold too. It's great.
Yes, colds all around.
Oh, Kevin. So we haven't even done a sound check or anything because I've got a vamp to fill time to make it sound like this is going to be a long and interesting show. But it will be an interesting show, but it will not maybe be that exciting for the live audience, right?
Yeah, and we don't have your audio.
Oh, I'm not sharing yet. Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. What app do I need? I need Edge. Actually, oh man, I got a lot to do here. I got a recording from a guy named Tom about a new browser called Arc. And I've been playing with it, and I could actually be using Arc for StreamYard right now. It's a Chromium browser that's very, very weird. Let's see. Oh, so Mike, this might be exciting news. I just got a message from Jill that there's a beta of a huge new release for Hindenburg. I think it's Hindenburg 2. No, the macro. I haven't had a chance to play with it. I've been playing with the grandkids at Disneyland all week. But there's a new version of Hindenburg that looks like it's going to be a pretty big redesign, so we may need to start over anyway. Or maybe they fixed the problem. That would be even better. Oh, goody.
So maybe. Apparently John asked if there's going to be a duel between you and Chuck at MaxTalk Live.
Oh, good point. I don't know. So we did have some fun one year. We should talk about MaxTalk.
Yes, let's do.
We should talk about MaxTalk all the time. Why is my keyboard not doing anything? All right. Plug you in. My trackpad wasn't doing anything earlier. Nope. Trackpad stopped working, or my keyboard stopped working. That's neat.
Is that a battery?
Oh, no, it's Spotlight not taking focus. That's weird. I'm hitting command space. The Spotlight command is coming up in front of Hindenburg, but Discord is keeping focus. Yeah, it's a Discord bug. Ooh, that's interesting. So what are the dates? Everybody mark your calendar.
I see July 22nd and 3rd. Is it also Friday or just Saturday, Sunday?
Well, we'll be out there earlier. We may go out Thursday before, but July 22nd and 23rd.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Brett brings up a good point. We had so we staged a smackdown between me and Chuck. Only Chuck was late and didn't get out on stage, so I won.
By default.
That was very funny. No, we're not going to say that. All right. Probably should do a sound check at some point here.
Yes, let's do that.
And try my gravelly voice here.
Jill will be there. Great
Jill
news,
will
Jill.
be there. Everybody should go. Jill's going to be there.
Looking forward to it.
You had an issue with Discord where his typing was invisible. Odd to have those two same errors. All right, I'm going to try a little recording. Oh, stop it. I wish Discord, what I would really like is Discord to follow whatever I've got my headphones set to, or, headphones, whatever my audio output is. It does not.
But doesn't SoundSource handle that for you?
Hindenburg independently just decides what it wants to have the output set to.
Hindenburg, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hindenburg has its own window for it. So that doesn't come up when I do a command comma, does it? No, it doesn't see little windows. But like even command W doesn't close the window. It's very non-standard. All right. I was going to do a test recording. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
I didn't hear the music.
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear the music, at least on YouTube. I didn't have Discord up, but go ahead. I didn't hear the music playing while you were recording that. Is it supposed to?
Let's see. Audio default microphone should be YouTube live input. Now it will be. Here we go. Playback. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
That's better.
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Did you hear music?
Yes.
People in the chat room, did you hear me? Did you hear music? Sounds good. Okay. Attending the podcast on a near weekly basis seems to keep Discord up to date.
I don't know. Every time I launch Discord, it's loading new software modules left and right every single time.
I'll talk about Discord in the live show next time. In the show next time. All right. I don't think I have an excuse not to start. This is going to be a really short show. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, February 26, 2023, and this is show number 929. Well, remember how I got laryngitis over the holidays? And then while we were in Antarctica, I got another wee cold that took my voice out yet again? Well, this past week we went to Disneyland to celebrate the lovely Sienna's upcoming 3-year birthday. She's free at Disneyland until she's 3 years old. On Wednesday night, I was thinking how my voice was finally not gravelly for the first time in 2 months. On Thursday, I woke up with a cold and I lost my voice again. Now, I had a nice meaty topic I was going to tell you about, that I was going to tell you about myself, but I think you might appreciate the story next week when I'm expecting to have my full voice back. Now, the good news is that last week, during that short intermission when my voice was actually working, I recorded a lovely chat with Ed Tobias, also known as Mr. Ed, in the live chat room about some geeky stuff he's been doing. And to help me through the chaos of these last couple of months, Bart recorded ahead of time a fabulous segment about macOS Spaces. I think you're really going to like both segments. They're both pretty long, so there will be just these 2 segments. That's more good news because it means you won't have to listen to much of my voice, even though it is mending again. All right. I just realized there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to say. I'm going to probably play a fair amount of Ed so that I can read ahead on what it was I was going to say. Okay, question. Should I? I'm going to talk for maybe 2 or 3 minutes about what Ed's going to talk about. Because there's a reason I have to. Do I set the chapter mark for when I start talking about it or for when Ed comes on?
For when you talk about it, to put it into context.
Okay.
If they miss that.
Yeah. Okay. Nope. Wrong tool. I'm using the keystrokes for ScreenFlow, not the ones for Hindenburg.
So it's fixed?
No.
He says mockingly.
All right. Oh, we could use this. Let me see something here. Let me do this. Okay, we'll do this. There. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, just go from Burlington, Vermont, right over to Chicago. Be perfect. Yeah, Kurt, he gives a lot of really good tips on how to use spaces. All right, here goes. Before we talk to Ed, I have to give a disclaimer. The subject of our conversation is how he uses. Change the tense of it. Before we talk to Ed, I have to give a disclaimer. The subject of our conversation is how he used Better Touch Tool to do some automation to kind of fake his way into making a Stream Deck, but using his keyboard. Before we started recording, I told him I could have sworn somebody had very recently talked about Better Touch Tool on the show. We racked our brains trying to remember who it was and what they'd done with it, but we couldn't remember. I even searched podfeet.com, and as you hear in the recording, I found mention of Better Touch Tool from 2009, but nothing recent. But I was sure somebody had just talked about Better Touch Tool. At this point, I'm betting about 90% of you are hollering into your phones that it was Alistair Jenks who talked about how he's using Better Touch Tool to control his Stream Deck just 1 month ago was when he talked about it. Now, I've confessed many times that I don't even remember what I talked about even a week ago, so this is on brand for me. I went back to listen to Alistair's piece on Better Touch Tool and how he's using it to control his Stream Deck, and I do remember the recording now. I blame the fact that I listened to it. I don't think I listened to it on the ship, but maybe on our way back on the plane. And I blame too many penguins, too many breakfast croissants, and too many white Russians. And that's why I don't remember who it was. With that preamble, I still think it's a fun conversation with Ed on what he's been doing with Better Touch Tool. And after re-listening to Alistair, I'm even more excited to jump in and learn the tool. Ed talks about the price of Better Touch Tool, which is $22 for a lifetime license or $10 for 2 years of updates. But I wanted to make sure you knew it's also available with a setup subscription. With that long preamble, let's listen to Ed and my conversation about what he's been doing. And I forgot something that has to be in the show. Boy, am I glad I'm not going to read this whole thing. Alan said on the automators. Oh, I wish I'd written this ahead of time because now, Steve, why don't you entertain the audience while I write up what I meant to write up earlier.
Entertain them with what?
I don't know.
Disneyland.
Sure.
So Disneyland. I'll say it's not a shanty. I'm not going to sing a shanty. But thanks for the suggestion, Mike. Soft shoe, no. Disneyland. So it's probably the coldest, wettest experience we've ever had at Disneyland.
Mostly cold.
Well, wasn't cold. I think there were moments of being.
No, I
cold.
said mostly cold.
Oh, mostly cold.
More cold than rainy.
Yeah. We managed to avoid most of the rain. There was one particularly wet hour where we basically went into a restaurant and ate, which worked out well. Oh no, yeah, that or we had coffee. I forget which, but define cold. Well, for us it's cold. It was like in the low 50s, but windy and kind of wet. So, I mean, you could bundle up and stay pretty warm for most of the time.
4 layers.
4 layers. We saw for the first time Rise of the Resistance. Yes, Jill, that was a pretty cool ride. I don't want to say too much because you can give things away, but let me say it was multifaceted. It had a lot of different components to it. It wasn't a classic ride that just had one component. And it true to form, it was really well done, very convincing. What else at Disneyland? That was the first. Well, seeing Sienna enjoy was really fun. Little 3-year-old with her eyes wide, at least when she was feeling good.
Forbes was a lot of fun there.
Yeah, Forbes, 6-year-old, really enjoyed it. Any other firsts? Well, stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, the Grand Californian, I think it was called, and that was that's a nice hotel. Although there were a couple things that weren't done so well, but for the most part, it was a good stay. And it's pretty convenient to get into the park. You get in half hour, maybe 45 minutes earlier because of, staying at the hotel. I think that's true with any of the 3 Disney hotels. You can get in early. And what's good about that is they have this new thing. What is that pass feature called, Al?
Sorry, typing can't answer
Not a good
questions at the
time.
same time.
We didn't do okay. So that's another ride, Mike, where you do the piloting or you're a navigator or whatever. That wasn't Rise of the Resistance. I think that's another of the Star Wars oriented rides. The Rise of the Resistance is the new one, and it's fantastic. Rise of the Resistance is the old one. Then it's another ride.
No, because we did the other one. We did the one where you piloted the ship. We did that
but
the last time we were there.
I'm just questioning what the new one is called, and I thought the new one is Rise of the Resistance.
It is.
Okay.
Rise is the new one.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go. All right. I'm going to manage to give you one. Sorry.
I don't think we did the one where we piloted.
Not this time. No.
Where you had the 3 rolls. We didn't do that one. You designed the encoders that Disney uses on the Toy Story ride. Well, that's pretty cool, Kurt. Wow. That's great. The Toy Story ride. That's the one where you're shooting at the characters with the lasers, or kind of laser pointers. Had a big green cannon on your desk. Yes, that one. Okay.
That's crazy. How fun.
Nice piece of legacy there.
Yeah. All right. Are you tired of vamping? I can work again now.
Yes.
So there will be one more mark here.
One more mark is in
chapter mark. Yeah.
Okay, I see a big old gap there. Is that intentional?
That's where I'm going to go record. With any luck, I'll remember to move this one back over. Okay. All right, here we go. You've never been to Disneyland? All right. Well, I'm excited to tell you that I got to be the guest on the Automators podcast, number 122, with David Sparks and Rosemary Orchard. They asked me lots of great questions about what I use to automate life on my Mac and my iPhone. I mostly focused on the Mac, though. My favorite part was when they asked me what my favorite tools were to use for automation. I had a great answer to it, and I'm not sure you would understand or you... Try it again. One more time. I'm excited to tell you that I got to be the guest on the Automators podcast, number 122, with David Sparks and Rosemary Orchard. They asked me lots of great questions about automation, which you wouldn't be too shocked to find out, and I focused mostly on things that I do on the Mac. I managed to squeeze in some information about programming by stealth, of course, and what we've been doing there. But my favorite part was when they asked me, what are my favorite tools for automation? I had a really great answer to it, and I don't think it's what you would expect, but it's an answer that Mike Price really enjoyed. Anyway, check out this episode of The Automators at relay.fm/automators, and it's episode number 122. And of course, there's a link in the show notes. All right. Oh, I'm glad I'm not recording much. Did I already say that a couple times? There. Okay, now there's no gap. Let's see how that sounds, those two transitions. Even though it is mending again. I'm excited to... That's too fast. is mending again. I'm excited to tell you that I got to be the though it is mending again. I'm excited to tell you that I got to be the guest on the Automators podcast in the show notes. Before we talk to and of course, there's a link in the show notes. Before we talk to Ed, I have to give a disclaimer. The subject of our conversation. It sounds better than some shows. Yeah, it's not as bad as it was, but it's just everything I could do to push enough air to make it not be just the vocal fry that Al likes so much. That's basically what it is. All right, now let's listen to Ed. Let's see. My conversation about what he's been doing. Okay, now we can go get some good Ed goodness here. What?
Good Ed goodness.
Oh, geez. Let's see. I wanted this up above. Sorry. There's a link in the show notes. Too long. There's a link in the show notes. Before we talk to Ed, I have to get. All right, now we can do Ed here. And I think for you guys to hear this, I think I have to split the tracks. Yeah. Conversation about what he's been doing. Too long. About what he's been doing. Well, back in 2009, Matt Hillier talked to us about Better Touch Tool, and evidently it's come a long ways and it does some other stuff. I'm shocked that in, what is that, 23 to, I can't do subtraction, a long time. Is that 14 years? Anyway, a long time ago, it did some things, and apparently it does more. And I've asked Ed Tobias, good friend of the show, good friend of Steve and mine, to come on the show to tell us about something fun that he just did with it this week. How you doing today, Ed?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, I hadn't used Better Touch Tool in a long time either. I kind of did a revisit on it myself.
Yeah, so I love the way Ed did this. All he did was he sent me a screenshot and said something like, my new Stream Deck, or my pretend Stream Deck, my fake Stream Deck.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pseudo Stream Deck, yes. I can't afford a real Stream Deck.
They're on sale this week.
Oh, good.
But Ed is the kind of guy that would prefer to build his own with baling wire and strapping tape, right?
Yep, that's it. A little duct tape and baling wire, and that'll work.
You could get it done.
Yep.
All right, so this all has to start with an itch you want to scratch. What problem were you trying to solve?
So, every time I would I do some coding. I work on my own web server, and I do coding with Home Assistant and a few other apps. And every time I set it up, it's, I got to launch the browser, then I got to launch terminal, then I got to launch the code, VS Code, and all those things. And it's, it'd be nice to be able to just press one button and have my entire setup happen, all the apps launched and all the windows configured just the way I like them. So I was looking for a solution like that. And I started going down the path of going to shortcuts, the Mac OS shortcuts. And that sort of worked. I combined it with Moom and things like that, but it seemed a little clunky, and it doesn't always work all the time.
So, by the way, Moom is a tool that allows you to place windows on screen and then memorize the location. So you just pull down to Moom and you say, set this up, and it puts things in place. Great tool, but the combination was clumsy.
Yeah, it was a great tool, and it actually that's what led me to Better Touch Tool again, because in the Shortcuts app, I was able to launch all the applications, and then I wanted to trigger the Moom configuration to arrange all the windows the way I wanted them. And the Shortcuts app, the way it did it was it actually went through Better Touch Tool to send a command key sequence to Moom.
And you're thinking, well, why do I need to do it twice or to go through that to do it?
Exactly. I'm always trying to simplify things. So I started looking at Better Touch Tool, and is looking through all the different options, and it's like, wow, this thing is really powerful.
So explain to us what Better Touch Tool is. I hear a lot of people talking about it, people all excited, but I don't know what it is.
It's basically the same as Keyboard Maestro if you've used that a
Yeah.
lot.
Uh-huh.
Um, you can take inputs either from keyboard shortcuts that you can define, or gestures on your trackpad, and actually it takes inputs from Stream Deck too, as well as a lot of other things, including a Siri remote. You can actually program your Siri remote to control your computer. So
Ooh,
there's
that's
all kinds of
interesting.
stuff like that. Yeah. And it's you can use it to I think there's MIDI controls where you can actually use a MIDI device of some sort to control your computer, and it's just phenomenal. There's all the different ways. But
Okay.
so
Just
it
so people
basically
know, it's $10 for 2 years worth of updates, $22 for a lifetime, or it's in setup.
that's right.
You know I'm installing it while you're talking, right?
Well, the neat thing about it is, you can go on the Mac and you can create keyboard shortcuts for any app, but this one will allow you to assign a keyboard shortcut and create several actions that happen just from that one keyboard shortcut. So that's kind of what attracted me to this, because then I could do one keyboard shortcut and it launches all my the apps that I need and then arranges them in the window configuration that I want. For example, I have one, and then to make it look more like Stream Deck, I actually printed out the icons of the different applications and pasted them on my keyboard. I've
So
got
that's the picture you sent me.
that's the picture I sent. Yeah, it's I have one of those extended keyboards with the number keypad, and it gives you the F keys that are like 13 through 19.
So things you never use, right?
Things you'd never use, yeah. So I use that to assign those actions, and I just pasted those with label maker tape and kind of printed out the icons on them.
So it's real
So,
classy looking then.
oh, it is, yes, yes. That's the duct tape version. But it works really well, and I have one that's got Discord on it, and it launches Discord uh, as well as YouTube channel at podfeed.live, podfeed.com/live, and then that way I'm ready for the show at 5 o'clock on Sundays.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So can it take you all the way into the right server on Discord?
Yes, and you can do it with certain key combinations, but that's the only one I go to
Oh,
is
okay.
yours. So
Well, it's kind of funny. This will probably air before it happens, but I'm going to be on the Automators podcast. And one of the things we were talking about was applications that make it hard to actually control some of these automation tools. And they
Rosemary.
talked, yeah, Rosemary talked specifically about the fact that Discord is not a standard app and has all these weird buggy behaviors, and it's really hard to control it. So it's good to know you actually can do that.
Yeah, yeah, you can not only that, you can, instead of just launching Safari, I can actually tell it to go to this URL. So it'll take me
Oh,
wherever I want. So it's very kind of very handy that way. It's got a lot of other features too. It's got a thing called where you can do a hyper key,
okay,
and it's basically it's how you do the shift control option command with all the fingers on your hand,
right.
and then hit something else. Well, you can assign shift option control command to the caps lock key.
I hear so many people do this, and it makes me crazy because I use the caps lock key as nature intended. I use it
Oh,
for
but you
caps
can.
lock.
But you can. See, that's
Oh,
the thing. If you use caps lock and then another key like caps lock W, that'll use the hyper key. But if you just hit caps lock, it turns caps lock on.
oh, I take back my growl of annoyance.
There you go.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's you keep the caps lock functionality, but you also add to it by making it do that. And the nice thing is the shift control option command is something that most applications don't ever use all those.
Mhm.
So you won't be interfering with any application's natural key commands.
It's kind of interesting that it's that set of keys because that's exactly what people use in Keyboard Maestro.
Yes.
It's almost like there's a common language now between these kinds of applications, I guess.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah. I got Keyboard Maestro a long time ago, but I never really got into using it. It just seemed very complicated to me. but this one just seems very natural.
Mm.
But there's all kinds of things, and there's things I've learned by looking online. They're game changers to me, like holding the shift key down and moving 2 fingers on my trackpad up and down changes the volume.
Oh, that's
It,
interesting.
once you try it, it's just like, this is life changing. It really is. Tapping with 2 fingers brings up a finder window. Um,
Oh.
and they have a
These are
thing where,
default built in?
no, you just set them up, but they're
Oh,
pretty
okay.
easy to set up. Um, and then there's one where I set up where it's got its own clipboard manager, and you can use like I've got it set up where if I have 2 fingers on the trackpad and I tap the left of the 2 fingers, it launches the keyboard or the clipboard manager within Better Touch Tool.
Huh. That
And
seems
that,
like it would take dexterity. Hold 2 fingers down and lift the left one. I might be able to
yeah,
do that, but I'd have to think. You have to use your brain to do that, don't you?
you kind of do a little bit, but it's not too bad. And it's got when you do that, you can favorite some of the things that you've captured in the clipboard manager, and they stay
Okay.
as favorites. So they're kind of like, like every time I want to create a new HTML page, all that glop that you put in the beginning of an HTML page, I save that as a favorite so I can go right to it.
Oh, that's cool. So
Yeah.
when you do that weird keystroke, it's showing you your list, but then you can favorite within that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
And then
where did you
good.
get the ideas of to do these things, like bringing up the clipboard manager or swiping with 2 fingers with the shift key to do volume?
Oh, I just kind of searched YouTube for Better Touch Tool videos and tutorials, and I got a lot of them from that.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of a good idea to get ideas from other people of like what have they done with it? Because right now I'm looking
Yeah.
at the screen and it says add first trackpad gesture for all apps. It's like, well, I don't know what kind of things can you do?
You can do, yeah, you can do lots of things. You can even draw on it and it'll do things. But
Ooh, that's
um,
crazy.
the power just keeps going deeper and deeper. This clipboard manager, I just want to finish up on that. It allows you to paste things, converting everything to plain text. So if you copied something that had formatting on it, it'll automatically remove that.
Oh, that's
Uh,
cool.
it'll
Oh, John, I've never seen that photo.
That's great.
That's great. Okay, so this is important. That is a picture of David Sparks actually being a captain on the Jungle Cruise, because that's what he used to do. So if you don't know who he is, he's a podcaster, but he was also a lawyer for many years after he was a Jungle Cruise operator. So we're on the Jungle Cruise, and the captain starts telling jokes, and he says something about if you take a picture of the elephants, make sure if I'm in the picture, don't tag me because my parents think I'm a lawyer. Big laugh. So I went up afterwards and I told him, I said, yeah, I know a guy who was a Jungle Cruise operator and now he's a lawyer. And the guy thought that was hilarious. I enjoyed it. He said that out in his latest email. That's great. That's right. I told Forbes he was going to see the backside of water and he was amazed. Okay. I'm going to do like a 15-second 15-second ad here. We're at 31 minutes. Pledge break. They always have their trunks on. They said that one. Good one. Copy link. All right. Nope. Well, if you're finding value in what you learn here while listening to the NosillaCast, Chit Chat Across the Pond, Programming by Stealth, or by reading the blog posts, please consider expressing your appreciation by going to podfeed.com/Patreon to support the shows. How's that for fast? Steve?
Well done.
So Sandy, I had a terrible time today with the title because he spells evangelizing with an S, and I couldn't write it with a Z, writing as me, because I was putting the title in the same tweet, or not tweet, but toot, and so it was very difficult, and so I stuck with the S all the way. I know.
I may have made a mistake then. I put the Z in for the Facebook post.
You changed it?
Yeah. I'll put the S back.
I think that's a good idea.
Well, Bart's not on Facebook. He won't care.
All right. But it's going to look dumb because it's an S in the title.
Yeah. Probably should change that.
Okay, let's see.
Care.
Too long. Okay, let's see. Thanks a lot, Ed.
All right, take care.
Still, if you're finding value. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Ed.
All right, take care.
Well, if you're finding. Now it's too short. Let's go right there. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Ed.
All right, take care.
Well, if you're finding value in what you learn here, well, wait, I told the Jungle Cruise story about the captain saying that he was his parents think he's a lawyer for the shows.
Hi folks, Bart here, all by myself. I promised Alison I would record a segment for her when she got back from not Alaska, Antarctica, and needed some extra content, and then she got loads of extra content because all of you guys rock, so you're going to hear this a little bit later than planned. But anyway, a few weeks ago, Alison and Ron had a fantastic interview segment where they talked about Stage Manager, which is Apple's latest attempt at solving the problem of too many windows. And I really enjoyed the piece. Now, I was pretty sure Stage Manager wasn't for me, and after listening to it, I was absolutely certain it wasn't for me, but that was a feature, not a bug. Because actually, I think one of the things I loved absolutely most about that piece was that they made the point that Stage Manager isn't for everyone. But not only that, they helped you understand whether or not Stage Manager would be for you. Would it be the kind of feature that made you happy? Or would it be the kind of feature that drove you potty? And I fall into the second of those two categories with Stage Manager. But I entirely understand that Spaces, or to give it its proper name, Mission Control, is exactly the same. Some people will love it, and some people will hate it, and the reasons will be the same. So I want to take a lead from Alison and Ron's segment and try to explain Spaces and help you think about how or whether Spaces may or may not actually work for you. So let's just start with the core concept, right? Spaces has been around for so long that it actually has quite a bit of history, and I'm going to take you on that journey. So before there was such a thing as Spaces, your Mac had a single desktop, which is basically, I sort of think of it as like a super window within which all of your windows live, right? It's one view of the world, and it contained 4 important things. There's a background layer, which has a bunch of icons. They represent files, or they might contain icons for attached storage devices. Depending on how tidy you are, it may be a very cluttered place or maybe a very clean place. But it's a background layer with a bunch of icons, which is literally your desktop. Then all of the windows for all of your applications are floating in front of that desktop. There is a dock of icons for currently running and your favorite apps on the recycle bin, and that is by default along the bottom, but mine's always on the left. And then there's a menu bar along the top, it has some permanent icons like the Apple menu and the clock, and then anything you have running in your menu bar. And it has the menu for the currently focused app. So those 4 things sit inside this one super window that is your view of the Mac world. And as our Macs became more and more powerful, we became liberated to run more and more apps simultaneously. The idea that you would start something, turn it off so as not to consume too many resources, and then start something else, that's just gone now. I mean, we just open app after app after app after app, which means that we have window after window after window after window. So we just have this mess in front of us. And Apple have tried to solve that problem in all sorts of ways over the years. But one of their first big changes was, well, they started with a very simple question. If everyone's one desktop is too cluttered. Why not have more? Why not have multiple desktops that you can distribute your windows between? And that's pretty much what the first iteration of Spaces gave you. So you could have multiple desktops, but you didn't get multiples of all four things, right? So you remember I was saying you have your background layer, all of your windows, your dock, and your menu bar. You don't get different copies of all four. What you get is different collections of windows, but each of these spaces, as Apple called them, contained the same background layer with the same icons. Now, you can actually have different pictures these days, but the icons are the same. You have the same menu bar. You have the same dock. You have a different collection of windows. Other operating systems have actually tried to do similar ideas without much success. But Apple's implementation started off good. It started off actually having bells and whistles that the other operating systems have never gained, frankly. So I guess the first thing that has always struck me about Apple's implementation of Spaces is that it has always been very visual and very spatial. Spaces are logically arranged in a row. And when you trigger the Spaces view, your current desktop shrinks a little bit, and a strip of thumbnails appears across the top of your screen, which represents all the spaces that exist. There's a plus button on the right, which lets you make more spaces. And you can drag and drop your spaces to change the order, and you navigate between your different spaces by clicking on those thumbnails. So whatever the currently the zoomed out spaces view then can be triggered. So you basically enter this spaces view, right, where your desktop zooms out a little bit and the strip appears. You enter into that either with a dock icon or a dedicated button on the Apple keyboard. It's the button for mission control. You can also get it with a keystroke, or you can get it with a gesture on your trackpad. The keystroke, by the way, is Control up arrow, and the gesture on the trackpad is a three finger swipe up. So when Apple first released this feature ages and ages and ages ago, they called it Spaces. But today, it's actually become part of a bigger feature that altogether is called Mission Control. So Spaces is now a part of Mission Control. And when they made Spaces into this bigger thing called Mission Control, they didn't remove any features from Spaces. They added more stuff to Mission Control, and they changed the vocabulary. And they also added the ability for that thumbnail strip across the top to be able to contain more things. We've actually linked in the show notes to Apple's official documentation on the mission control features so that you can see all of the proper lingo and jargon and Apple's description of everything if you would like. So that zoomed out view where your current desktop is shrinked a little bit and then the strip of thumbnails appears across the top, well, that view is now called mission control. And the icon in your dock you use to launch this, what I still call Spaces, but is now Mission Control, is the Mission Control button. If you hover over it, that's what it says. It's also, if you have a proper Apple keyboard, it's the one with the picture of little boxes or the old F3 button. That's the Mission Control button. The strip of thumbnails is now named. It is called the Spaces bar. And so initially it could only contain collections of windows, so 1 space, 2 space, 3 space. But now this is where Apple put the iOS style features on the Mac. They put them into that same Spaces bar. So if you full screen a Mac app into that iPadOS style full screen mode, it will now appear as a full screen space in that Spaces bar. And if you do that iPadOS style multi-app split screen thing where you can have 2 apps next to each other, they're called split views now, according to Apple's official documentation, and they also go into that same Spaces bar. So your Spaces bar has regular collections of windows, regular spaces. It has full screen spaces, and it has split screen spaces, or split views as Apple calls them. So I actually, before I go any further, I need to draw your attention to something. I've been saying it, but I haven't highlighted it. So your spaces are not collections of apps. They are collections of windows. Each window is an independent unit. So you can have 20 Finder windows and you can distribute them across as many spaces as you want. It's not that the Finder goes in a space. It's each window gets to go to a space, but each window is on its own and they can all be moved around independently. So your spaces are collections of windows, not collections of apps. And it's very important to remember that if you're going to become a productive spaces user. So to move around between spaces, remember I said it's all very spatial. And if you have a spatial brain, that really works. And I think that's why it works for me. So they're on this strip of spaces where you move between them. You can do it with keyboard shortcuts or gestures. So the keyboard shortcut to enter into the mission control, the zoomed out view, is Control up, and the keyboard shortcut to leave is Control down.
Hello, Al. I don't think I hear you. Are you hearing Allison?
There we go. Muted.
All right.
All right. There, what was I saying? I was saying something fascinating. I don't know what it was. Close that one. Open this one. There we go. I'm going to cut us off. Oh, you do have different ringtones. I never hear any interesting ringtones. All right. Here we go. I'm going to record a little bit here.
Hoping that was helpful to you all. And until next time, happy computing.
Well, I absolutely love this explanation of spaces from Bart. I really wish I'd heard this years ago when I first gave spaces a good college try, because it makes a lot more sense now. I totally did not understand that you only put windows, not apps, in different spaces. I would have put every one of the toggles Bart mentions here into the opposite setting as the way he did it, but now I understand that those controls are there and help it work the way you want it to work. By the way, you don't have to choose between Stage Manager and Spaces. It turns out you can have Stage Manager with Spaces, and each space gets different piles of apps. Anyway, thanks so much, Bart, for such a great review and explanation and getting into the nitty-gritty details that really explain how spaces work and how maybe they can work for you. I do have to say, I am a very, very spatial thinker, but I'm a very messy desktop user. I don't put a lot of junk on my desktop, but I have lots and lots and lots and lots of windows, and I want them all at my fingertips. No, I want the right one at my fingertips at all times, but I'm not organized enough to use spaces still, I don't think. But just being spatial, I don't know. I think one of the problems that I had was that it would rearrange what space I was going to. So I couldn't always count on the one to my right has this thing and the one to my left has that thing. They were getting reordered, and I think that's part of one of the settings that you mentioned. But in any case, I may give it another try, but I'll have to take a look at those settings first before I do. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Hopefully my voice will be back in shape next week, and I can tell you what I was going to talk about this week. Anyway, did you know you can email me anytime you want at allison@podfeet.com? So, for example, if you're PDX Kurt and you're just starting to use pivot tables and you want some advice on how to use them and use it better, email me at allison@podfeet.com. If you have a suggestion or a question, send it on over. You can also follow me on Mastodon at podfeet at chaos.social. Remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. If you want to join in the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeet.com/Slack, where you can talk to me and all of the other lovely NosillaCastaways. You can support the shows at podfeet.com/Patreon, or if you'd prefer a one-time donation, you can do it at podfeet.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
And that's a wrap.
Boy, that was everything I had to do to squirt that out. Oh, it was PDX Kurt who just said he was going to do pivot tables, right? I hope so.
I don't know. Was it?
All right. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Really, vocal fry? You think there's a little bit of that, Al?
Like
All right.
bacon.
Bacon? Vocal fry, that's good. I have 3 Oh, I didn't do a chapter mark on support the show, so there should be 4.
Well, let's see.
Ah, geez, what did I just do? That's not good.
1. Wait,
They're
did you
finding
do one for
value.
automators?
I did.
Okay. And did you do one? Yes, you did for
Good.
Ed
Thanks a lot,
because you had
Ed.
the intro.
Sorry.
3, 4. Yes, 4 sounds right.
A grand total. Copy link. And I did put a link to Patreon. I did put a link to Better Touch Tool, even though there's not a link to a blog post.
Yeah.
Oh, but I didn't write no blog post on it. I should do that. What?
The ringtone for Mike's wife is.
Oh, that's
one
terrible. Is that what it is?
And he's still married and alive.
Man, that's gruesome. All right. Yeah, how'd you get away with that?
Oh boy.
All right. Everything looks good. All right. I'm going to export. Boy, my voice is going fast. The best part is it gets really bad late in the day.
Mm-hmm. Around 5 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, right around this time. All right. I've exported the show. I think I'm going to let class out early at 9 minutes till.
Yes, they've behaved very well.
I had fun in spite of my voice. So I think we should say goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
I'm going to hang
Thanks
up.
for joining us.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks for coming.